Loveland, Ohio can best be described as a sleepy pocket suburb in the hills of northern Cincinnati. Nestled along the Little Miami River, Loveland is a community that straddles 3 counties and is home to a true enigma of the aquatic realm. Loveland, Ohio is home to the legendary Loveland Frogmen. The legend of the Loveland Frogmen begins in the early summer of 1955. The exact date is a matter of speculation, but most reports place it sometime in May. This encounter is typically told in 3 similar but slightly different versions. The first states that an unnamed businessman saw 3 disturbing creatures gathered by the side of the road. He stated that they were 3 to 4 feet tall, covered with leathery skin. The creatures were described as standing erect, bipedal, and having the head shape and faces of frogs. He also stated they had webbed hands and feet and deep wrinkles in their heads. They appeared to be totally hairless. Other versions have the same description of the creatures, but one places them sitting on a bridge and another places them under a bridge. Since this first account does not give an exact location or road, it is difficult to confirm which specific bridge the reports are meant to describe. The tale is further complicated by local information that puts the man entering and exiting Branch Hill, a community bordering the southern end of Loveland. It is worth noting that most of the side roads leading to and from Loveland, specifically the bridge areas, are not well lighted. Due to the landscape and layout of Loveland, Ohio, there are numerous bridges that crisscross the Little Miami River and other tributaries in the area. Besides the basic description of these creatures, the most interesting detail is one that describes a particular creature as having held a cylindrical metal object, sometimes described as a wand. It is stated that the creature held this object over its head and that the object emitted flashes, sparks, or other pulses of light. Whether this is in relation to a perceived threat or not is not related in the tale. However, upon seeing this object activated, it is claimed that the businessman fled, fearing for his safety. Now, this first part of the legend infuses 2 typically contrasting elements to this puzzling cryptid. First, the creatures are said to be reptilian or amphibian in appearance. They are described as naked and hairless. These aspects, combined with the diverse, somewhat antediluvian river system, leads one to think that these creatures are somewhat primitive. However, once the metal object is introduced into the story, it is easy to see why some have asserted that the frogmen were possible greys or other non-terrestrial life forms. One has to wonder, which is more plausible, child-sized bipedal frogs or aliens from another world? Now, moving forward in time, the next encounter with the Loveland Frogmen gives us an exact date, time, and location, and a seemingly credible witness. On March 3, 1972, at 1 o'clock a.m., a police officer, who will not be named, was traveling on Riverside Drive headed into Loveland. The police officer was traveling cautiously due to inclement weather that were described as icy roads, and he claims he saw an animal on the side of the road. The creature scurried across the road, and the officer stated that he had to slam on his brakes to keep from hitting it. Once stopped, the officer had the creature fully illuminated in his headlights. He went on to describe the creature as crouching like a frog. Then the creature went on to stand erect, bipedal, and stared directly at the officer. Finally, the creature turned and climbed over a guardrail down into the Little Miami River. Again, this creature was described as being 3 to 4 foot tall, 50 to 75 pounds, with leathery skin and resembling a frog or a lizard. Further investigation by other officers found that the guardrail in question did in fact have abrasions exactly where it was reported that the animal crawled over the metal barrier. There are things that need to be taken into account when looking at reports of this incident. Though the basic description never changes, one report claims that the creature fled descending into the banks of the Ohio River. Now, one has to conclude that this could be a simple misprint or misspoken statement by someone unfamiliar with the Loveland area. The other aspect of the story is the weather. Now, there is no information available that would suggest that the icy road conditions mentioned in the story were inaccurate. However, this presents us with an amphibian, cold-blooded creature that is moving in the open air without being burdened in sub-30 degree weather. Anyone with even basic herpetological knowledge understands that reptiles would not last long exposed in such a climate. However, if one is willing to accept the report as true, it gives pause to consider the suggested metabolism of such a creature. One of the positive things about this report is that it gives a rather specific location. Riverside Drive, as the name implies, runs north-south along the west bank of the Little Miami River. It is actually called East Kemper Road, and then turns into Riverside Drive as the road follows the river north past an unusual island in the middle of the river and into downtown Loveland. The barriers have been replaced over the years, but here one can walk to the exact spot where this particular version of the creature was reported to have been seen. Unfortunately, within the last couple years, the police officer in question has completely recanted his story and advised that it was all just a hoax. This should be used as a warning for anyone who assumes a report is accurate simply because of the profession of the reporter. Yet another tale that is often related to the Loveland Frogmen is that which is reported by Miss Darwin Johnson. This incident is alleged to have occurred on August 21st of 1955. She stated that she was attacked by some type of creature while swimming in the Ohio River near Evansville, Indiana. She went on to claim that the creature attacked her from under the water and latched onto her knee. This occurred in approximately 15 feet of water while her friend, Miss Chris Lamble, was present. The attack dragged Miss Johnson beneath the waves twice. After kicking free of the creature, she was able to swim to shore with the aid of Miss Lamble. Miss Johnson bore several contusions on her leg, including an alleged green palm print that seemed to stain her skin for several days. Now, the only relation that this tale has to the Loveland Frogmen is that the Little Miami River drains into the Ohio River. However, Evansville is over 240 miles away to the southwest. Anyone familiar with the Ohio River knows that the normal fish in aquatic life along its banks and in its depths are unusual to say at best. Mammoth catfish and enormous snapping turtles are plentiful along the Ohio River. While not ruling out some other type of monster fish or other cryptid, it is doubtful that this tale is directly related to the Loveland Frogmen. It is vital to note that the tales of the Loveland Frogmen did not truly originate in 1955. The Native American population was familiar with the creature or species of creature they called Shanahook, or the river demon. The creature was described as being a large reptile that could walk on two legs. The creature lived specifically along the banks of the Little Miami River. It is said that this creature threatened the indigenous tribes until they sent their greatest warriors to confront the demon. After the fray was decided, the Shanahook is said to have gone into hiding. When the Native Americans were driven from the territory by encroaching settlers, the Shanahook is claimed to have returned to the riverbanks. This particular aquatic legend is attributed to both the Shawnee and Twitwi tribes. The Little Miami River twists and meanders through southern Ohio from Yellow Springs to the Ohio River. The banks are lined with dark, eerie runoffs and dotted with small tunnels and holes. As if this scenery was not mystical enough, along the wooded banks in Loveland rests a full-scale replica of a Normanesque castle, known as Chateau La Roche. The castle was started in 1929 by builder and known Masonic follower Sir Harry Andrews. However, Andrews did not start full construction of the castle in earnest until 1955, coincidentally the same year the Loveland Frogmen were observed by that anonymous businessman. There are some in the area who attach Andrews, his knowledge of the local fauna, hidden tunnels, and even secrets of the Masons with the legendary Loveland Frogmen. With an IQ of 189, Mr. Andrews was considered a genius. Did he know something about the area or about something prowling the banks of the Little Miami that no one else did? Not hiding from their notoriety, the community of Loveland, Ohio has adopted the Loveland Frogmen as their own. There are teams called the Frogmen, 5K races called the Frogman, and dozens of pictorial representations of these mini monsters of the deep. Local canoe outfitters often enchant children with tales of these creatures lurking along the riverbanks. Lastly, in 2010, native Loveland filmmaker Gretchen Kessler released a film, Legend of the Loveland Frogmen. She put her own spin on the local folklore. The tales of the Loveland Frogmen have been the subject of countless campfire stories that echo the banks of the Little Miami River. Whether cryptid, alien, or hybrid, the Loveland Frogmen has captured the collective psyche of the Ohio River Valley. Some dismiss the creatures as something too imaginative to be real. Others insist the dark riverbanks hold secrets few are willing to accept. Regardless, when stalking through the dank mud of the Little Miami, even those with a rationally skeptical mind will find themselves peering over their shoulder from time to time.